So first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 5-inch layer cake and we're going to put it into a bowl or a mixer to make it crumble it up so that it's like sand. So I'm going to unwrap mine, and I'm actually going to use my mixer, and hopefully I can turn this so that you guys can see what I'm doing here. There we go. So I just have my mixer with a paddle attachment, and I'm going to unwrap this and break it into smaller pieces. And then I'm going to let my mixer do the rest of the work. So I'm just going to turn it on low and let that mix for a few minutes. So my cake is cold, so it may take a little bit longer to crumble up, but if your cake is warmer than, more like room temperature, then it may not take as long. So you could also do this by hand. I like to do it in the mixer because I don't particularly care to get my fingers all full of cake. So it should just be crumbled up. If you have some bigger pieces, you can just crumble those by hand, but it should be nice and fine. Okay. So the next step for making cake pops is to add our frosting, our buttercream, to our cake. And to do that, there's no exact measurement. So you just kind of have to play it by ear. When your cake starts to come together like a cookie dough, then you're done. So I gave you more than you're going to need. So don't just dump the whole thing in there. So I'm going to start by tablespoons and just put that in there. And then I'm going to turn my mixer on. And I turn it up a little bit higher, so hopefully you can still hear me. I can tell right now I'm going to need at least 2 tablespoons. So I'm going to go ahead and put another tablespoon in there while the mixer is still on. Still not coming together, and all of that is mixed in, so I'm going to go ahead and put 1 more tablespoon in. See that that's starting to come together, so I'm not going to add any more. I actually weigh all of my cake pops. If you don't have a scale, then I might as well just put it down like that. If you don't have a scale, then maybe you want to use a tablespoon. You want your cake pops to be about an inch in diameter. If you make them too big, then they're gonna be too heavy and they're gonna fall off of your stick. And obviously you don't want them too small because you want a nice cake pop. So I weigh mine and they are 1 ounce cake pops. So I have my cake pop dough and I am going to weigh out 1 ounce. And let's see if you can use a tablespoon, or maybe you have one of those like ice cream scooper kind of thing. You could use that. Let me see how that does. You're probably going to need 2 of those for this size. It's close. Actually, it's 0.8. So you're going to want a little bit more than this if you have this. Let's see if we use a tablespoon. And so if you use a tablespoon that is kind of heaping, then that's going to give you a 1 ounce ball. So you could do that. Okay. And then you're going to want to roll these up. And you want to make sure that you don't have any cracks. If you have cracks in them, then that's going to end up cracking once you dip it in the chocolate. So we want to make sure that all the cracks are gone. And then I stick them on a tray with parchment paper. And I put them in the fridge. I usually put them in the fridge overnight. However, if you don't have that kind of time, you could either put them in the freezer for 15 minutes and then move them to the fridge and then start working. I only work with 6 at a time, and I'll explain that later. But if you don't have that kind of time, you could put it in the fridge for an hour, or you can put them in the fridge overnight or the freezer for 15 minutes. And all of this will be in your notes that I give you in your kit. So I'm going to continue to roll these until I have all of them done, and I will be back to show you how to melt your chocolate and dip your cake pops. Okay, so I'm back, and actually it's the next day. I let mine sit in the fridge overnight just because I didn't have time to come back and finish filming yesterday. So mine have been sitting in the fridge overnight, and you should be able to get about 12 cake pops. I was able to get 12 and have a little bit of cake pop dough left over that I just threw away. So we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna show you how to dip them and decorate them. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is move the camera down so that you can see what I'm doing, hopefully. All right, so I've got my chocolate already melted. So we're using the white chocolate first. And you want to make sure that you put it in a glass that is, tall enough that you can completely submerge your cake pop. You don't want it too narrow at the top, because when you pull it back out, then you have a bit better chance of hitting the side and messing up your cake pop. So make sure it's wide enough. And so I've heated it up. Start with 30 seconds and then stir, and then another 30 seconds and then stir again. Chocolate maintains its shape even when it's hot, so you won't know that it's melted until you stir it. So make sure that you stir it. You don't want to overheat it. You don't want to burn it. So just do 30 seconds at a time, and once it should only be probably a minute and 20 seconds total. You don't want it too hot, because if it's too hot and your cake pop is too cold, then your cake pop will crack. So there's a delicate balance for all of this. So I've pulled my cake pops out. I work with 6 at a time, and first thing I do is I take my cake pop straw. That's what I use there, straws. I prefer those because they're prettier than just the lollipop sticks. And I'm gonna dip it into the chocolate, and then I'm gonna stick it into the cake pop about maybe a ½ inch, maybe not quite that much, but just enough so that it feels like it goes to the middle. You don't want to push it too hard so that your cake pop cracks, and you don't want to go all the way through. So just you have to kind of judge whether it's about halfway. So, but if you don't get it in there far enough, then when you go to dip it into your chocolate, it's going to fall off the stick or the straw. All right, so then I'm going to let that set until that is hard. In the meantime, what you could do is take some other straws and poke holes so that you're prepared for your base. This is your base that you're going to dry your cake pops on. So you could poke the holes in there, and I've used all my straws that I have here, so I don't think I'm going to be able to poke any more holes. Yeah, it's not going to fit. So you might want to do that. There's 2 layers in here, so you want to make sure that when you put your cake pop in, that it goes through this second one. If it's not through this one as well as the top, then it's going to tip over. And also, when you put yours in the base, don't put them all in the back. Space them out sporadically so that the weight is distributed. If you put them all along the back, it's going to tip over, so don't do that. All right. So that's ready, and I think I'm probably ready to start dipping. So let's push this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. And we are going to take our cake pop, and we're going straight down, straight up, and then I'm going to turn it to the side, and I'm just going to start turning it. I'm not going to shake it. I'll rock it back and forth, but you don't want to bang it on the side of your cup. That's going to make the cake pop fall off the stick, so we don't want that. So you just keep turning it so that the chocolate is distributed evenly. And it's pretty much kind of like watching paint dry. So once you've gotten all the drips off, then you're ready to put it into your base. But usually you think you're done, and then there's one more drip. Here it comes. There we go. So you just want to make sure that it's dry enough so that it doesn't drip onto your base, down your straw. So if you put it in the base too early, then you'll have big drips down the side. Okay, and you'll know that it's done because it will get a little bit dull, not quite as shiny as it was. So then I'm ready to put it into my base and set that aside. All right, and I'll do one more. So I'm going to go straight down, straight up, turn it to the side, and then just start turning. So, and the reason that I'm turning is so that I don't have a big drip on one side that dries. So you want a nice round cake pop. Again, one more drip here. Here it comes. There we go. Just shake that a little bit to smooth that out. And I think we're ready. And I'm going to put that in my base, and I'm going to put it on the opposite side so that it's not too much weight on one side. Feel around for that bottom so I didn't poke my holes. There we go. All right, so then I'm going to let these dry a little bit, and I'll come back and I'll show you how to put the toppings on. Okay, so our last step for our mummy cake pops is to put the eyes on, and then also to drizzle so that it looks like there's bandages around our mummy. So I've put my remaining white chocolate into my piping bag, and I'm just gonna cut the end of it. And first thing I want to do is put the eyes on. So I'm just going to do 2 little dots of the white chocolate. And generally, cakes and cookies and cake pops look cuter when you put the eyes closer together. Oh, maybe in the same direction. This eye isn't, well, I guess that's all right. Oops. There we go. So I might need to cut my bag just a little bit more. All right. So then we're going to carefully drizzle this chocolate back and forth, just all different directions, just making sure that you don't cover the eyes, and make sure you get the back and the top. Oop. Yep, don't cover the eyes like I just did. If you do, just wipe it off. And there's our mummy. So I'll do one more. So I'm going to put the eyes on first, and I'm going to put them close together. And then I'm going to drizzle it across, and I'm going all the way back and forth so that it falls off the other end and on the back, the top, and there we are. Oh, you know, I actually want a little bit more closer to the eyes here, just so that it looks mummy-ish. All right, so that is how you make a mummy cake pop. So thank you for purchasing the kit. If you have any questions, feel free to either text me, or not text me, email me, or send me a message on Facebook. If you want to share your pictures, I'd love to see them. So you can share them on my Facebook page. You can send me a message on Facebook, or you can email them to me. Thanks. Have a great day.